My name's Adam Monaco and I'm the Financial Controller for Hi-Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at Hi-Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. Hi-Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
On today's show, we head to South Australia and to the Bend Motorsport Park for the opening round of the 2018 Shannons Nationals, featuring the Australian Endurance Championship. Then we head over to the UK and to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit as the Dunlop MSA British Touring Car Championship kicks off for the new season. This is Speedweek.
"100 kilometres southeast of Adelaide is Tailem Bend, at a turning point in the mighty Murray River. It's where the Peregrine Group and the Shaheen family are well advanced on making a world-class motorsport complex. The dream is coming to life, and it is seriously impressive. Round one of the Shannons Nationals for 2018. It's the first event of 6 jam-packed rounds for 2018. It's the first of our CAMS National Championships for the year, and it's the continuation of a wonderful partnership with Shannons Insurance, which has been going now for over a decade, so it's great to have them back on board.
Thanks very much, Greg. Can't wait to get this race underway for the GT, the Australian Endurance Championship. Matt Koch has joined right alongside me, a very lucky bloke, gets to travel throughout Australia and New Zealand with these guys. Plenty of Formula One experience under your belt, Matt. These big events are just part of your everyday, but really cool to have the GTs back on the Shannons Nationals and here at Tailem Bend for the first time.
There is nothing everyday about racing at the Bend this time around. We've got a fabulous 2-hour and 40-minute race ahead of us on the international version of the circuit. We did try the GT version yesterday, but we are on the 4.95 kilometres filled with lots and lots of action. Those long sequence of corners, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the international circuit. Absolutely fabulous. So much load on that front left tyre. The guys are really coming to grips with that at the moment.
Max Twick will line up on the front row in the BMW Mercedes AMG GT. Liam Talbot right alongside in the 911 GT3R. Yasser Shaheen, Mercedes-Benz AMG GT. Peter Hackett, which I think it's Jake Foraker at the wheel there in the AMG GT. Jay Robson, we've spoken a fair bit about, and I think we're going to be doing a fair bit more talking about Jay Robson out of 5. Out of 6 is Stephen Richards, and out of 7, Fraser Ross.
Picking up then out of P8 is Jeff Emery in the Audi. He'll share with Garth Tander, the number 1 car there, followed by the sister car of Tony Bates, number 24 entry, sharing that one with Dan Gaunt. Then Tony Walls out of position number 10. He's sharing that car with a name that's familiar to most of us, Warren Luff. That's then Scott Taylor and Craig Baird out of 11. Tony Quinn and Shane Van Gisbergen out of 12. Adrian Dietz and Cam McConville out of 13. Ash Samadhi and Dylan O'Keefe out of 14. Then the first of the GT4 runners, Justin McMillan and Glenn Wood out of 15. Jeremy Gray will share that car with Andrew Mediki, the Aston Martin Vantage, out of 16. Mark Griffith and Harrison Jones out of 16. Rounding out the grid in 17th, Mark Griffith. David Crampton out of 18. Jim Manolius in the Lamborghini. Didn't set a time in qualifying, had some dramas at the end of Q1.
Some ominous clouds in the background there. I've been told there's not rain in them, but certainly will be cloud cover around the track, bathed in sunshine for the start of this race. And we look forward to see what the next 84 laps here at the Bend Motorsport Park brings us.
So here we go, safety car comes in. Max Twigg picks up control of the field between 75 and 85 kilometres. He holds the field waiting for that green flag. As soon as that's shown, he accelerates away. Good start from the Porsche on the outside. John Martin, Liam Talbot, the 911 Porsche, jumps to the lead, sweeps across the road to take the inside line as they run down this 1 kilometre straight into turn 1. Under brakes in. Looks like everyone's just about made it through.
I tell you what, John Martin moved over nicely there, and in fact it saw the charge of Yasser Shahin, and he's put himself into P2 very, very early on in the race there. There's Shane van Gisbergen, and he's already dispensed with the Lamborghini of Adrian Dietz at the moment, but it's for Hot Wheels Car Care Products out in front. John Martin in the Porsche. There's just an absolute plethora of AMGs right behind him. There's Max Twigg. And we've got Jake Foraker on board there. We go on board with the 98. This is Joe Robson in the Aussie Driver Search car. He's sharing with David Reynolds throughout this weekend. And it looks like the BMW of Stephen Richards just up the road there in front as well.
Yeah, it looks like Michael Armand's had a cracking start there. Jumped up at least one spot. We've got a car off. That looks like the Mercedes AMG of Yasser Shahin. The 777 car off. It looks like it might be the turn 7, 8, 9 complex. Seen a few cars end up in the weeds out there. Tricky complex because it really loads up these cars. We see Michael Armand look to put a move on Jake Foraker.
Now, Mikey Armand didn't get any practice on the short circuit yesterday. Stephen Richards stayed at the wheel for that. So this is a really good and exciting lap he's had. And now the opening stanza of this race made his way up into P4 at the moment. So the BMW looks to be being enjoyed, even though he hasn't seen this layout yet so far. So Mikey Armand using all of his skill and abilities used up over the years to get to the front of this field. But the BMW looks poised very, very nicely amongst those Mercs.
How's the move out front, though, from John Martin? He's just clearing off in that Hot Wheels Porsche. 2.5 seconds clear of the field after just a single lap here of this 4.95 kilometre Bend Motorsport Park facility. Looking a little bit further back, Yasser Shahin has popped up on the timing screens after that off a little bit earlier in the lap. So we see Jake Foraker just stick the nose out, have a look up the inside of Max Twigg in second place. Further back, we see what looked like Craig Baird putting a move on Jeff Emery.
A couple of Audis hunting in packs there with Emery and Bates. Just making a move around there. A couple of teammates used to have their own team named after each other. Tag, Tony and Jeff. A lot of thought went into that. So for many years they raced development series. Down the inside, Jake Foraker sends it. Max Twigg fights back. They managed to both hang on there. Jake Foraker puts a right-hand rear wheel out over the back of the track there onto the dirt. Keeps it together. Here's a great look on board with Jai Robson. What's going on? Michael Armand very unstable through that turn 7 and 8 there at the moment. But we're going to stay with it. There's Yasser Shahin, and we've got a safety car out.
Safety car for Yasser Shahin's car stuck in the firing line. If one car can get there, two most certainly can.
Here's Yasser Shahin. What a shame. Got a good start, made up a place off the start there, and then disappeared off into the dirt there in the 777 car.
The Porsche we saw at the start, very, very quick away. That rear engine car, plenty of grip to shoot clear with those Pirelli P0 tyres. He accelerates out of the final turn. The green flag flies. We are racing here. Once again, 80 laps remaining when we cross the stripe. Martin from Foraker, Twigg, Armand, line astern down the front straight, trying to pick up a sniff of slipstream to pull out and have a look down into turn 1.
So John Martin worked pretty hard over that opening couple of laps to get a lead away. He's now got the challenge from the Mercs again, and now Michael Armand in the BMW as well. Gee, the mirror's full of German cars for him, isn't it, at the moment? The Porsche, of course, the famous sports car marque out of Germany, now being joined by the likes of Mercedes and BMW into this sort of GT type racing. And it's getting very, very willing at the moment there, because Jake Foraker has certainly got his eyes up on P1 for this race. He's certainly got the reigning endurance champion as his teammate for this year. And Peter Hackett would love to jump in this car with it out in front.
Mistake from Max Twigg. We just saw him flash by the right-hand side of Jay Robson there. Dropped a couple of spots to Mikey Armand and Robson. So the BMW now up into third. Jake Foraker holds down second, right up on the gearbox of John Martin, who hasn't scampered clear this time through like he did at the first start. Foraker, what an impressive couple of laps from this young guy. Hasn't got a lot of experience in the Mercedes. This is part of the Mercedes AMG driver training program. He's one of the driving instructors there with Peter Hackett, but really latched onto the back of the 911 Porsche at this point.
Coming around the technical part of turns 14, 15, 16 in the GT cars. This, of course, is a really strong part of the track. Just off to the left there yesterday was where Scotty Taylor parked up the AMG in there, the Scotty Taylor Motorsport car, and was no damage done to the car, but certainly went off at very, very high speed, arrested all of that before coming into contact with anything solid. We sort of watched that as it happened, and it could have become a bit of a hairy situation, but it managed to just get back out in this session. And of course, he is sharing with Beardo today, and they're currently sitting at 6th in this race.
Robson now beginning to shape up to make a move on Armand. The BMW in 3rd place, Robson in 4th. I'll be able to just spot in the top corner of the windscreens, I've got a digital display that's displaying their position out on track in their class. So for these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, and from the 63 car out there.
So Jake, John Martin on lap 5 has the commanding lead, or again, he scaped away in just 1 lap to a 1 second lead. Jake Foraker to Michael Armand. Joe Robson remains in 4th place. Max Twigg is the one, I guess, out of this opening bunch. Started on pole, has now found his way back up to down to 5th place. So he's going to work pretty hard to try and get back.
Robson off. Robson's in the gravel out there somewhere. It looks as though it's the same spot as Yasser Shaheen was earlier on. Sorry to cut you off there, Daz.
Right.
The car that was running P4.
There we have the shot back over to Joe Robson in the Aussie driver search.
The man who won 2 races at Albert Park for the opening round, set there. Just see the car looks like it's on its belly. Rear wheels bogged down, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we see another safety car. John Martin's just set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 50.6. So it looks like we're going to dip below the 1 minute 50 marker. 1 minute 48.4 was pole position. So Martin from Foraker, Michael Armand in the number 100 laser plumbing and electrical BMW M6 GG3. Fabulous performance from this car so far this weekend, looking very, very strong. Sticking with the guys out front, Martin Foraker and Armand just checking out a little bit. Craig Baird has put a move on Max Twigg a little bit further back, but these front 3 just edging their way clear, 3.8 seconds up the road from those a little bit further back.
Now, I've just got to suggest that the laser electrical car of Richards and Armand, with Michael Armand at the wheel at the moment, looks more poised than it has over the last 3 seasons here this weekend. The car looks to be settled this weekend. It looks to be like handling the track conditions very, very nicely here. So obviously getting on top of that BMW. Tony Shebeki is down in pit lane catching up with all the stories.
Thanks very much, Jazz. We've got Luke Youlden with us. Luke, any serious problems there?
Nothing serious. So obviously we had an off. I can't tell you why. The reason we stopped, lost communication to the car, so we fixed that again. So now we can hear each other. But yeah, disappointing. Obviously we had heaps of pace. You know, Yasser's driving really well, and I'm a little bit disappointed with actually not using the long track today. To be fair, I think it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to go to this one. But either way, we think we had pace both tracks, and I guess now we're just recovery mode and try and cut some quick laps. See how we go.
So John Martin gets back underway with things here. Safety car has gone, and I'm just getting away from it. He's opened up a very good gap already in a first couple of corners as we've gone green again. Michael Armand cementing his spot into 3rd place. The challenge continues now with Craig Baird, and he's probably one of those kind of drivers you don't want lurking in the mirrors, isn't he, Beardo?
He's a man who's got so much experience. He knows how to get the job done. John Martin, though, again, just skipping clear a little bit at the front as the green flag flew once more. Michael Armand and Jake Foraker now locked in battle. Craig Baird involved there. It's a 3-way scrap now for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes. Foraker just not quite up to the speed of John Martin as those Pirellis start to bring the tyre temp back up, give these cars the grip that they really, really want. The lateral forces in these things are absolutely phenomenal. So they break down into turn 6 hairpin where Jake Foraker got past Max Twigg a little bit earlier on, but Craig Baird really now starting to lock horns with Michael Armand, who's starting to look more and more in the revision mirror and in the process dropping back from Jake Foraker.
Michael Armand's going to have his hand full here. It's In fact, it's a little conversation that happened about 5 or 6 years ago between these guys, between Michael Armand and Craig Baird, and some laps out at Malala that actually gave Michael Armand the sting to get on with his career and really became a really strong race car driver. So I wonder if that advice, I wonder if Craig Baird held back any advice so that if one day Michael Armand was in front of him, he was going to be able to get away with it. But it was when they were when Michael Armand was racing in the GT3 Cup Challenge, and Beto was doing a little bit of assistance and DSO work with the category back then. So really nice bit of synergy here that Michael is in front at the moment, and we'll see how that plays out in the fullness of time. But a relationship between those two that goes back numerous years now. But right now, Craig Baird has probably flicked the visor down and said, forget the relationship. My relationship is with the podium, not with the BMW in front.
So important stuff to start covering off now is pit stop windows. Lap 14, the pit stop window opens. We're currently starting lap 13, so not too far away from that happening. Look for a flurry of activity. We'll go down to Shebex in pit lane.
Thanks very much, guys. I've got Dylan O'Keefe with me. Dylan, how's it all going? You started in 14th.
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, these safety cars are definitely helping us quite a bit. So it's playing into our strategy quite nicely. I mean, Ash this weekend's been unfortunately a bit off the pace due to lack of confidence from the start of the year. But hopefully this race he'll push on a bit more, and yeah, he'll jump out about lap 35 and I'll jump in for the rest of the race. So.
This is the McElrea racing outfit. That'll be the objective. McLaren, they've got a right front on there as well. They're also marking off fuel on the overhead, on the fueling rig there. So maybe early. It'd be interesting to see who blinks in this exchange for the compulsory pit stop window. I'm going to suggest that they're all going to run long at this point in time because they've had so much laps under safety car. They probably want to run longer to get some tyre use. And Craig Baird looking up the inside of Stephen Richards, not being able to make it move. But Michael Armand to the lane, as is our race leader, Liam Talbot. So they've proven me wrong. They've come to the lane pretty much one lap after the compulsory pit window opens, but that may also be to tick some boxes as far as driver times in this race are concerned.
Tony Walls also now in the pit lane. So 3 cars have taken this early opportunity to dive for pit lane. John Martin, our former race leader, Michael Armand, who was sitting 3rd, Tony Walls, and also now Tony Quinn.
So fuel goes in. It's the only action that can take place in a GT racing. When you're fueling up, that's what you're concentrating on. And the fact that they haven't done tyres first probably says that it's just for a fuel stop. There is a tyre at the ready for that car that can just be part of the process as well, just in case they do notice that there's a deflating tyre whilst it comes into the lane. So that can also be precautionary.
You've got to do one or the other at once, and fuel's got to go, and you can't do tyres and fuel at the same time. Jake Foraker now also in the pit lane from the lead, hands control of this race over to Craig Baird, who last time through went fastest of anyone, 1 bit at 48.49. That's a qualifying lap as we see Foraker climb out. Peter Hackett climbs into the Mercedes-AMG GT3, the Carplex entry, number 63. Interesting to see where Foraker resumes. It should in theory be ahead of Liam Talbot, who's currently running in 13th. As we watch the Fraser Ross number 59 McLaren 650S GT3, the Total Optico McLaren, currently sitting 3rd on the road, yet to take his first stop. So Foraker will be out of the pits any moment now. Justin McMillan is in the pits, so too is Tony Shebeki.
Thanks very much, Matt Luffy. Tony Walls came in, compulsory pit stop. Out he goes.
Yeah, look, it was all good, just our first compulsory pit stop. There's 3 throughout the race, so lap 14 was sort of the first key one to get out the way. So tyres, fuel, he's really happy with the car. He's doing a great job out there, so next stop I'll get in.
Expecting that to be around about lap 35?
Yeah, I think about lap 38 or so is the next one to sort of be able, for me to be able to get in, and then from there right through to the flag.
Let's head to Rusty.
It looked like a pretty good stop, Tony, for the Hot Wheels team, and I'm with John Martin now. What were the words to Liam Talbot as he headed off, mate?
Just like, I mean, the car's pretty good, so just be careful. But like where we've had the 2 cars off, it's like that's the new part of the circuit. We've only had like literally like 15 minutes to 20 minutes last night to learn it. So it's yeah, I think a few people are still sort of going in there and not really knowing where it is. It's so yeah, I just thought and try and be a bit careful out there. But I mean, the car's pretty good. The team did a good stop. It's just yeah, our strategy, I think we could have slightly got a bit sort of screwed over a little bit with the safety cars there. But who knows? Still a long way to go, and yeah, we'll see what happens at the end.
we're seeing on track at the moment here is important because we've got the number 63 Mercedes at the head of this little freight train of cars. We've then got Jeff Emery, Tony Bates, Adrian Dietz is in there as well, but so too is the 911 Porsche. That was our former race leader before the first round of stops. He's dropped behind the 63 Mercedes. He's now got a couple of cars ahead of him who are yet to make their stop, so he's now losing time, Liam Talbot, in the Hot Wheels car care products Porsche, as he's tucked up beneath the rear wing of Tony Bates, Audi R8. 2 cars up the road is our race leader, or our effective race leader, Jake Foraker, the first man, or Peter Hackett now in that car, first man to have made his first compulsory stop as well.
So car 222 leading the way now with Craig Baird. And he's got a handy lead over the Max Twigg Mercedes, who hasn't done the pit stop either. Fraser Ross, the first in the McLarens, and then Jeff Emery in the number 1 Audi. Tony Bates in the 24 Audi. Adrian Dietz in the first of our Lambos, and right behind him in the number 29 Trofeo Motorsport car is the Jim Manolis Lamborghini Huracan. This battle is very much on out here at the moment. There's the Aussie Driver Search car there as well, weighing in on it.
Couple of laps down now is Joe Robson in that car, the number 98. Had a spin in the early stages. You get the feeling
he's just trying to prove he's got the pace still, don't you?
Yeah, he's absolutely got the pace, doesn't he?
I'll go with you.
We see Tony Bates peel off. That releases Liam Talbot. We see Fraser Ross and Craig Baird also take to the lane. So Max Twigg will become our effective race leader. Lots and lots of action happening out there. Craig Baird, the fastest man who's been out there on track. And there is former race leader Craig Baird. So he might be handing that car over to Scott Taylor. Certainly doing something in the cockpit of that car. Normally, there's not a lot of need to jump in there unless it's a driver change. So most cars out there have taken their first dose of medicine. Max Twigg, Jeff Emery, Adrian Dietz, Ash Samadi, Andrew Miedeke, and Jai Robson, the only drivers who are yet to serve the first of their 3 compulsory pit stops. Jeff Emery pulls in off the track now, out of P2.
So Max Twigg gets back in the lead of this race. He was on pole, now back in the lead. Emery to the lane. Adrian Dietz now in the Lamborghini into P2. Ash Samadi in the Audi there as well. Berto's back out on the track and effectively has the race lead. Looking at that, Fraser Ross will be in P2. Just looking at the way they're starting to play out. There's Jeff Emery, the Audi Custom Sport crew.
That car's not close enough. They can't get the fuel in there. It's just stopped short. Haven't been able to get the fuel connected, so they've had to push that car forward a little bit. Now that's bad news because that means they'll have to start the compulsory pit stop again. If the car moves while it's in pit lane, that restarts the compulsory pit stop. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that one. Adrian Dietz also in pit lane now.
The Max Twigg Mercedes now being worked on. There's representation there. Tana, Timken blazing across the back of that car as well, AEF Australia. And Max Twigg will remain at the wheel by the looks of things at the moment. Doesn't appear as though Tony Alberto's there, but it doesn't appear as though he's got his helmet on.
Let's go down to Tony Shebeki, who's in the lane.
Thank you, Matt. Jake Foraker with us. Jake, what a fantastic stint.
Yeah, great first stint. Car was pretty good. It's taken quite a while to come on though, and especially with those safety cars interrupting, every time. It was almost like waiting to restart each time. So towards the very end there, when I started getting a bit of a run, tyres really started to come on. Car was actually starting to feel really good, and my times were starting to drop there. So looking good at this stage. Pete's in the car now, and just looking at the times there, he's looking pretty consistent. So see how we go.
There's Jason Dunstan there, experienced campaigner in the Darrell Lee Quinn outfit, been with them for some time, spent a lot of time working with Peter Fitzgerald, so he's just confirming with crew members there about things that are coming up next for the McLaren that's got Shane Van Gisbergen and Tony Quinn. Tony currently still at the wheel, has been in for fuel, and he also took a new drink bottle on as well. So lots of experienced minds down there as well. So Jason Dunstan's one of the ones that Brett Peters hangs on to very, very closely. He also works with Ash Seawood Motorsport on various weekends on Porsches as well. So Jason, a very experienced mechanic in and behind the scenes with that team. Here's the run again now, the 911 up onto the 63 of Peter Hackett. Gee, the Porsche's strong under brakes. It's traditionally their their wealth, isn't it? The under brakes move there, but just watch the way it comes out of the corner. 6.3 litre V8 of the Merc comes away. Here's the Trofeo crew. Look like they're getting themselves ready. I'll have a bit of a glance around, see if Dean Canto's getting his balaclava on, but certainly the crew readying themselves.
John Martin puts a move, Liam Talbot rather, puts a move in the car. He's sharing with John Martin on Peter Hackett, so that's a change in positions. Moves up to P4, does the 911 Porsche, demotes Peter Hackett down to P5, and does, just to put a bow on the story around the Garth Tander and Jeff Emery piece, if that car is judged post-race to have had a drama, here is a replay of Talbot on Foraker. Gets the job done nice and close down the front straight, got the toe, moved out under braking, just got the back a little bit squirrely, pulled it up in time. The Hot Wheels Porsche moving through, the Hot Wheels Car Care Products Porsche. I wonder if there's something going on in the number 63, because not only has Peter Hackett lost a place to Liam Talbot, but he's dropped well off the back in the space of a lap. He's now got Michael Arman climbing all over the gearbox of that car.
Yeah, well, it's dropped off 3 seconds a lap.
Yeah, that's significant. In fact, doesn't even make a move to defend, so he goes from P4 to P6 very, very quickly.
He's lost those spots to one Porsche and one BMW, so yeah, you'd have to suggest a guy like Peter Hackett, he could probably do this for 3 hours in a row. Here it is again. Michael Arman got through. Peter Hackett really just left the door wide open. He could have moved over to cover that one off, but he's clearly experiencing some sort of a concern during this middle stanza of this race. So Liam Talbot has got the bit between the teeth at the moment, and he's looking to make a move on the McLaren. They come around through the 14 and 15. This is where the international circuit, or the GT circuit, rejoined back a turn or so ago there. Running on the 4.9 international circuit like the rest of the classes now this weekend. But have a look at this. This is going to be on. That's Ash Samadi in front. He's going to be an interloper in this conversation. As down the inside fires it, the 911. The Hot Wheels Car Care Products. Fraser Ross looks to go the switchback. The next corner goes his way. Liam Talbot sweeps across and in the straight line. So in 1.5 laps, Liam Talbot has taken Peter Hackett, and he's also taken Fraser Ross. They've turned the wick up on Liam Talbot's car at the moment. Just last lap around on 152 for Liam Talbot. Everyone else running around the 153s and 4s. Here we go again. Set him up. The traffic played into it. Ash Samadi there.
Liam Talbot's one of the best in the business through traffic. Played his trade in Europe a couple of years ago and learned how to go door to door with the best in the world. He's just put a really strong move on Fraser Ross there at the penultimate turn. And our race leader Craig Baird comes in for the first of the pit stops in the number 222 Scott Taylor Motorsport. And that's their second pit stop. They actually stopped back on lap 19. They're in again now on lap 27, so it's a really short stop. I imagine what they're now doing is looking to run Scott Taylor for his required 46 laps. They'll then bring that car back in, put Craig Baird back behind the wheel and go for gold at the very end of this race. Max Twigg, though, continues to lead. Fraser Ross is now under the attentions of Michael Arman. This is the battle for third place on track. It looks as though Peter Hackett's found some speed as well, so it might have just been a couple of laps that tyre temperature have been lost or something, as Michael Arman puts a move on Fraser Ross down into turn 1.
I was going to make that point about the tyre. We haven't seen any of the AMGs change tyres yet. We've seen McLaren's change tyres, and we've also seen the Porsche. The Porsche is still on its first set, and the Audi's changed tyres. So I wonder if that's something that's starting to play into. They've gone the new set early on in the race here or not, but there's the run up there of Michael Arman on Fraser Ross as well, so that's for track position as well. One thing that, speaking with Peter Hackett last night, that car is struggling with is just getting the confidence in the front end of that car, particularly around the right-handers at 7, 8, 9. Let's go down to Greg Grust for some more.
I've known this guy for quite a while. You shook your head a little bit when you got out of the car. Is it physical? Is it hard work? What's the go?
Oh, it was physical. The fan stopped working inside the car, so I don't run a cool suit or helmet fan, so I'm relying on the air coming from the bonnet, and it didn't happen for me. So have a rethink before I jump in. I just got cooked a little.
So, the order at the moment, Max Twigg from Liam Talbot, Michael Arman currently in third place, tucked up behind him, Fraser Ross. These two have been locked together for the last few laps. Peter Hackett just off the back of these, so I wonder if a couple of laps ago he just ran off line and got the tyres dirty, and it just took a little bit to get him back up to speed. While he was doing that, he got mugged a couple of times over. Tony Bates is currently 6th place. Jeff Emery down in 7th. Tony Walls 8th. Adrian Dietz in 9th. And Tony Quinn in 10th place. That is the order with some 30 laps on the board. 54 remaining. 2 stops to come for the majority of the field. Only the Scott Taylor and Craig Baird car, the 222 STM Mercedes AMG GT3, currently on screen ahead of the BMW, has served its 2nd compulsory stop at this point. So we heard from Rusty, served 18 seconds longer than it needed to, as the BMW of Michael Arman puts that car a lap down. So Arman doing an incredible job here. The best performance, you mentioned this earlier, Daz, the best performance we've seen from the BMW in a long time. Towards the back half of 2017, it really started to get its act together as Fraser Ross now puts a move on Scott Taylor. That BMW really starting to make strong strides forwards. Michael Armand and Steve Richards in the car this weekend.
Garth Tander, he's clearly got a process of getting himself ready and putting the helmet on, getting himself under control. A very, very good, in fact, up the very top echelon of Australian race drivers. Dab Hand picks up anything on the weekends that he's not driving either a GT car or a supercar. He's off running the family Formula Ford team, and to the point where last year the family Formula Ford team with his wife at the wheel won the Formula Ford Championship. So the Tander family so heavily immersed in motorsport, like many others are around, and he still operates at a very, very superior level. And the guy that if I was looking for a co-driver and Garth Tander's name was in the hat, I'd try and rummage around and drag it out. Lucky I'm not looking for a co-driver.
Can't imagine he comes cheap. He is very handy behind the wheel.
And rightfully so. He's a good driver.
So I can't imagine that he'll be getting in the car before lap 38. And the reason I say that is the most number of laps that he can do is 46. So if we work backwards from race end, 84 laps, subtract 46, that leaves us with the magic number of 38. So I would imagine on lap 39, we will see the number 1 car come into pit lane and Garth Tander jump behind the wheel. We do have a battle at the front though. Liam Talbot shaping up towards the back end of Max Twigg. The green, white and yellow Mercedes AMG GT3 tips it into turn 1. Currently the race leader as the number 50 of David Crampton tips it in at turn 3 and comes out backwards.
At turn 3 is really starting to be a point where we've seen numerous different classes of cars having offs there. So there must be something about that, whether you go in there in traffic or you're offline and you head out pretty badly and you go around, or it might be just in there fast by yourself and go around. It's not really across what's actually happening down there. We saw it in the Radicals, we saw it in the prototypes, we saw it in the touring cars, and now we're seeing it in the GT. There's a couple of cars that have had that spin down at turn 3 and is catching them out. Something down there is catching them out. Certainly a great grandstand being built all the way down that whole brake marker for future events here.
Number 7 car in pit lane. Tony Quinn handing over to Shane Van Gisbergen. Now that's an interesting one because that's 5 laps earlier than I would have expected. So Shane Van Gisbergen cannot get to the end at this point. He does have to stop and hand that car back to Tony Quinn at some stage. So they're in the lane on lap 53. It's now lap 33. It's lap on 50. Oh, sorry, I'll start again. They're in first on lap 15. Now on lap 33. I wonder if they've done some maths, worked their way backwards and realised that they're not going to get the full complement of 84 laps in. So Garth Tander stepping into the car, helping first Jeff Emery climb out.
And Jeff Emery hit the marks.
Yep.
Absolutely vernier perfect that time round. Garth just ever so cool, gets in there. Not rushing, just getting the belts, meticulously plugging them in. Jeff offers a bit of assistance with those shoulder straps.
No doubt not far away was Greg Russ down in pit lane.
And Matt, yet more evidence of just how physical this race and this place is. Tony Quinn, it was taxing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I haven't been feeling well all weekend, and it was really tough. That last 10 laps were really tough for me. I was feeling sick and stuff, but...
What's wrong?
Yeah, I don't know, I just got flu. No, I don't know, I just feeling sick, you know? And especially when we were doing the long track, I was feeling terribly sick. But anyway, I mean, it's my hormones playing up, I think.
under big fire now. Liam Talbot trying to fire it down the inside there. It's around a good part of the track too to be doing it. The Porsche is very, very strong through there, but Max is certainly powering it up onto the straight now, and we see the AMG into the pit lane. They'll put Liam Talbot into the lead, but what it will also do is it will put Tony D'Alberto behind the wheel of the WM Waste Management Timken machine.
This is bang on lap 38, exactly when we expected these guys to be in pit lane. So they're playing a very predictable strategy in that Tony D'Alberto will now jump back in the number 8 car. He'll run probably up until towards lap 70, come and take the last gulp of fuel and then run to the flag. Liam Talbot now released. You would think if he's been catching up on the back of that number 8 car, he'll jump clear and hopefully open a little bit of a gap. That could be important as we watch the Tony Bates car. Should now be in the hands of Dan Gaunt.
Ash the Marty out, and we've got Dylan O'Keefe in, so a gun out of the Porsche ranks into the Audi with him.
As we see a couple of GT4 cars squabbling away in the background, that looked like Glenwood and Trent Harrison, the KTM Crossbow and Aston Martin Vantage GT4, currently running 3rd and 4th in that class. The battle between the GT4s continues to rage in back of shot there. Aston Martin on the inside. KTM is carrying a bit of damage to the front right-hand corner of that car. In fact, it's carrying quite a bit of damage to the front right corner of that car. And the engine cover looks loose as well there, Daz.
Yeah, we saw the other car with a bit of livery damage, a bit of stickers flapping earlier on as well. So it looks like there's been some concern here. And that sort of racing, it's any wonder there's the other car right behind it as well. So this is getting pretty willing here for GT4, as you would expect.
So the Aston Martin stepping wide.
Sees 2 KTM Crossbows go straight through.
We've got a BMW out there in a bit of a sandwich as Dean Canto looks like he's finally got the job done. He's been trying for a few laps to unlap himself from Steve Richards. It's Richo not willing to go down without a fight. He is, after all, ahead of Dean Canto.
If I know the Trofeo Motorsport crew, they'll be down there cheering him on as well. They love a result of any sort down there. Manolis will be up on the wall cheering Dean Canto through.
You can see already he's starting to pull clear, so there's definitely more pace in that Lamborghini at the moment. It's a shame a couple of laps adrift at this point, but they've been well in the action. Here is a bit of a replay. So Steve Richards has had a look at Division Padiachi, the 59 McLaren on the outside. This looks like turn 6, makes the move around the inside, drifts wide. Dean Canto follows him through. Division Padiachi gets boxed out, loses 2 for 1, although one of those wasn't actually a spot 4 position. So lap car coming through in the 29 as the number 100 BMW. Steve Richards in the lane. Pit lane. They were last in on lap 35, so what they'll be doing now is just completing the 3rd stop and racing to the flag. There's 36 laps left on the board. It's still a big ask. Surprises me a little bit that they are coming in this early, unless they're just covering off the chance of a safety car later on, because we've seen 2 of them already.
Dean Canto carving them up now. He goes through on the 777 of Yasser Shahin, albeit that Yasser is behind him on the race, just ticking the boxes, getting through on these cars. I tell you what, Matt, let's have a little bit of a focus on positions 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and we'll go with Tander, Luff, McConville, Canto, Van Gisbergen and Reynolds in those positions in this race. D'Alberto out in front, Talbot in 2nd place, and Duchamp Padiachi, who we just saw Dean Canto getting through on, so unlapping himself there. Hackett in 4th, so they're coming at them, aren't they? Porsche's strong and sitting very, very good for a result here. In fact, it's the D'Alberto Merc and the 911 Hot Wheels Car Care Products outfits that are looking strong here. Peter Hackett's still looking good for it as well.
When they stopped, there was about 23 seconds between them. That should have blown out to about 27 or 28 seconds after the stationary times have been taken into account. So it's a big job for John Martin, not insurmountable. as we see Shane van Gisbergen and Duvish Paddy, actually 2 McLarens line astern, rounding turn 3, the number 7 entry and the number 59. Dan Gaunt in pit lane, the number 24 KFC Audi. Kiwi staying at the wheel, does a bit of part-time modelling, he tells me, on the side. At least that's what I'd like to think. Absolute character is Dan Gaunt, one of the most laid-back, relaxed guys you will ever meet. Absolutely hilarious guy to get in conversation with as well. Let's go down to Greg Rust.
I'm here with Liam Talbot. How did the stint go for you?
Yeah, it was simply epic, you know. Like, the car is so hooked up at the moment. I was having fun. Like, I knew that pit stop was going to put us back in the pack, but had a heap of fun, so I hope you guys enjoyed that on TV.
This car, the Garth Tander number 1, currently running in 8th. Showing that car with Jeff Emery. I've had an action-packed day. They've got a 5-second penalty hanging over them for a restart infringement. They've also got a post-race investigation into their first compulsory pit stop, which, if that wasn't served, that will result in a 2-lap penalty. If it was served, there's absolutely no drama. So that one won't be resolved until after this race is drawn to a close and officials can look at the data logger in that car to really understand exactly what's happened.
Garth Tander's actually on a bit of a charge. He's just done on lap 55 the fastest lap of the race for that car. So he is absolutely hooked up and pushing on with this car. He's had a good handful of laps now to get his head around it. They came in and he was making an adjustment to the rear of the car, as all the drivers appear to have been. The rear right, for some reason, I would have thought the left would have been their focus, but maybe they're softening things up on the left so they get a bit of droop or something like that, maybe a little bit of extra rebound as they're loading up the car in those corners. So it's a very technical engineering side of things, and I'm not about to try and get up Adam Bore down there with the Audi guys, that's for sure.
Let's face it, it doesn't come much better than Adam DeBore, and they've also got Eric Pender in that garage as well.
Yeah, Eric's worked with these guys for a long time.
The brains trust in the Audi Sport Customer Racing Australia crew is absolutely massive, but so it is up and down pit lane in the Eagleson Motorsport garage. You've got Chris Papadopoulos, who is an ex-Formula 1 Renault engineer, among other things. So let's go down to Tony Shebeki.
It's not a bad garage, is it, boys? We've got an ex-Formula 1 Renault man. We've got this guy here who is an A1 GP driver, Peter Hackett. Well done.
Thank you. That was pretty tough out there. You know, I thought after Hampton Downs last year with Dom, I got out of the car and I was buggered, so I made a commitment to the team that I'd lose some weight. I lost 10 kilos over Christmas and it still was hard. The short track's really tough. You know, we were all geared up for the long track. For me, it was a pretty good stint. Struggled to bring the tyres up early, and then we chipped away towards the end, and I caught, I think it might have been Fraser, and had a big aero wash coming up into, well, what should have been turn 32, but it wasn't, and just looped the thing, full 360, pulled second gear and keep going. Sorry, boys, it cost us probably 10 seconds, but for me it was a good stint.
As we see John Martin tucked up in behind the number 29 Lamborghini of Dean Canto, who is a lap down, balked as they go into turn 6 around the 7, 8, 9 complex. This fabulous sweeping sequence of right-hand corners that is absolutely torturous on these Pirelli P0 tyres. Got a bit of a breather through the left-hander, but then it's quickly into another right. John Martin will be absolutely fuming inside the Hot Wheels Car Care products, because this isn't a battle for position. John Martin is being held up here by number 29 Lamborghini. He's in an effective second place. He's got Tony D'Alberto, who's 40 seconds up the road. The chance of a win looks gone without the interruption of a safety car or a mistake from D'Alberto, neither of which at this point seem likely. And John Martin trying to split the lot of them. Dean Canto, it's almost like he's defending that position. Finally lets him go through. John Martin won't be too pleased with that. I dare say they'll not be exchanging Christmas cards this year.
Gee, that 911's got some pace though, hasn't it, to be able to drive through on the experienced racer at the wheel of car number 29, the Hemacatesis Lamborghini.
And the number 29 Lamborghini down in 14th, 2.5 laps off the pace. And John Martin lost some 6 or 7 seconds in that little exchange. He's now the better part of 40 seconds adrift, isn't he? So it now almost looks a bridge too far without some sort of third-party interruption, be that a safety car or a mistake. Doesn't look like that is going to happen. So we see Ken Collier and Lee Burley in conversation, part of the Audi Sport Customer Racing Australia top brass there. We continue to look at the battle for 5th, 6th, 63 in 5th place. Behind him is Dan Gaunt, 6th. The longer these guys squabble, the slower they go. The slower they go, the more that plays into the hands of Garth Tander. So he might just buy his way back into this in the very closing laps. He won't have a whole lot of time to make a move, if any, as we see Jake Foraker tucked up behind another KTM crossbow. This is the Trent Harrison entry, currently running 4th in that class, the number 50 Vantage Freight.
What's through on
he's got overlap this time. He's going to have the inside run as they round the 3rd gear right-hander uphill. It just gets a little bit light as they crest that one. Dan Gaunt, though, absolutely plants the Audi into the left-hander towards the end of the lap at turn 14 and 15. The corner I have cheekily referred to as Wincup's Folly, the little right-hander. Say it because Whincup may have had a little dabble in the Mercedes AMG GT3 earlier in the weekend and found the grass there rather than the apex.
As Greg Russ continues to report back from pit lane.
Guys, I'm hearing that the Audi team may be forced to do another compulsory pit stop here. And Jeff, is that because they don't believe, the officials don't believe that the other one counted? Is that right?
Yeah, obviously we moved our car in our pit stop to hook up our fuel rig, and technically it says that you're not allowed to move the car at all, must remain stationary. So we moved it about 300 mil, and apparently that voided our CPS stop.
That is a huge blow, mate. A game changer in some respects, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's pretty much the end of the race for us now. So we're just here for points now. So Garth's just going to pedal around.
Well, we've got a car stopped on track, and they'll come in and serve that compulsory pit stop at the last conceivable moment. That is the number 19 Ginetta G55 GT4 stopped out there on track. Can't quite pick up where that is at the moment. 13 laps to go. We've got some 14 or 15 minutes left in the race, and we go safety car. This is a massive game changer. Tony D'Alberto had a 41.2 second advantage. That's gone. Steve Richards, he was the better part of 17 seconds behind John Martin. That's now gone. This is going to be an all-out race to the flag with just a couple of minutes left by the time they recover that Ginetta.
What it's going to be is like an old school club sprint. It'll be green light, 3 laps, bang, job done. That's what it will be like. So Garth Tander's gone back out. That penalty has been served, or he's now served his compulsory pit stop in a legal sense.
Just notice as well the John Martin Porsche back in the queue has left a gap to the KTM ahead of it. The KTM doesn't have the same power and won't accelerate as well, but he can't pass until the control line, which is actually just about there where the safety car is. That's the line right there. We are green flag racing once again. Tony D'Alberto has leapt clear, as you expect he might as the race leader. Let's watch and see where John Martin is back a little bit further in the pack. He works his way through the 2 KTMs. He's got the McLaren of Shane Van Gisbergen to his left as they turn in to the first right-hander. Tony D'Alberto continues to lead. John Martin buried in the pack. He's got 2 cars between he and 3rd place Steve Richards aboard the number 100 BMW.
So Tony D'Alberto has got the game on a string here with this Mercedes here this weekend. In the dying stages of the first round of the 2018 Australian Endurance Championship. There's Garth Tander. What I did notice under brakes behind the Porsche of John Martin was Shane Van Gisbergen getting very, very squirrely. The car was dancing around on its front wheels and the back was swinging around like a pendulum on the application of brakes down into turn 1 there. So is he getting a little bit frustrated with the performance of the McLaren this weekend?
A little bit further back, there's been a change in position. Dan Gaunt's finally made the move on Division Padiachi. Meanwhile, Garth Tander is defending from the number 98 car. Actually a lap between those two, so it's not full position, although Garth Tander doesn't want that car in his road as he tries to make progress forwards and mitigate the damage that was done by having to serve that late compulsory pit stop. He only got in just in time, a couple of laps to go. Out front, Tony D'Alberto is 4.5 seconds up the road from John Martin. A couple of lap cars in between. So we see Luke Jordan and Garth Tander continuing to duke it out. It's great to watch. It doesn't actually mean anything in terms of points or race position there, as we say, a couple of laps apart. Lagoon in 15th place.
Look at
Garth
that,
Tander in 12th.
Davey Reynolds looks down the inside of Garth Tander into turn 1, and he's going to make it stick there too. That'll frustrate Garth.
We now have confirmation this is the final lap of the race. D'Alberto 7.2 seconds out front ahead of John Martin, who's buried in traffic. Unless something drastic happens, it seems he's stuck in second place. But he's not too far ahead, only 1.8 seconds from Stephen Richards. If the lap car happens to get the rail at the wrong part of the lap, that could evaporate the heartbeat, does.
Yeah, it certainly could. You'd like to think that it wouldn't get mixed up in determining the result of this race, that's for sure. Tony D'Alberto and the WM Waste Management car. It's been thereabouts all weekend long, certainly starting on pole position. Gave it the strongest car wheeled out here this weekend. Team working very well to make sure that these guys have got the best thing that they can have under them. There's the menacing matte black Lamborghini Huracan, albeit down in 13th position for the number 29 at the moment, sitting in behind our race leader on the final lap of this race. That's Tony D'Alberto. Counts down 3-4 corners left to go to take the first round of the 2018 Australian Endurance Championship.
So just one more corner then for race leader Tony D'Alberto. Sensational performance from this car all weekend long. They took the pole position. They've led almost every lap of this motor race. 77 laps in the books, and you win, my son. Tony D'Alberto and Max Twig win the first Australian GT race at the Bend Motorsport Park, followed home by John Martin in the 911 Hot Wheels Car Care Products Porsche. Stephen Richards takes a well-deserved podium in the BMW M6. What a magnificent race that was. Here are the results. Tony D'Alberto and Max Twig from John Martin and Liam Talbot. Steve Richards, a sensational result for he and Michael Armand in the BMW. Then Dan Gaunt in the Audi R8 LMS.
Division Padaucci up next home in the McLaren. Jake Foraker, a result there for himself and Peter Hackett. Warren Luff brought the next McLaren home. Cameron McConville bringing the first of the Lamborghinis home. Shane Van Gisbergen 9th. Dylan O'Keefe 10th in the Audi R8 LMS.
Thanks so much. The car was phenomenal. Max did an amazing job. Handed the car over to me in first, and not a scratch on it, and they just maintained the lead. And I got a little bit worried when the safety car came out at the end, but I was able to press on and do my fastest lap right at the end. So the car had plenty in it, and can't thank the boys enough.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way it goes, I guess. Sometimes, I mean, fair play to STM. They played a very good strategy in that. So it's the safety cars at the start hurt us a bit, but the Walkinshaw crew got us definitely back in the game there towards the middle of the race with Liam as well. So it's good result all around, really.
Sure does, mate. We've been working pretty hard for that for a couple of years, so that's great. Full credit to all of our guys. Michael did an awesome job all weekend, and here we are in the M6 first podium. It feels great.
Our attention now, of course, turns from a debut venue, a brand new venue, to one that is historically significant in Sandown. In a month's time, we will be there for round 2 of the Shannons Nationals. You can stay up to date on all the very latest by going to the official Shannons Nationals website or on our social media channels. It's been a huge honour to be here for the first ever race meeting at Tailem Bend, and indeed the first broadcast of a race meeting here. On behalf of all of our hard-working team, it's bye for now.
Coming up after the break, we head over to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit for the opening 3 rounds of the Dunlop MSA British Touring Car Championship.